Welcome back to the Real AF TV podcast show about eating dinosaurs and humans. This is the random take. We're gonna, this is a weird episode, and yes, the question is, you gonna eat human meat? But let's not just fucking blow our wad here right at the beginning.
Ah, dang, bro.
Because you had sent me this funny reel.
This is engineered human meat.
Yeah, dude.
And I was like, holy shit, dude. I can't believe I just put that on the dock as something to do. So I know, we were like, I don't know how's this going to go? I don't know how long this is going to last. I think we're going to have, because I got some shit.
Okay.
But I wonder, I've asked this question before. And everybody always fucking looks at me super weird, and but I love the question.
Yeah.
So I've had this question along for a while, and this was my scenario. I was like, "Would you eat human meat? Would you ever eat human meat if, like, we figured out how to travel interstellar, or like aliens came and visited, and they brought food with them, and there was like a version of a human from that planet that was like a cow." You know, like,
yeah.
So it was still a human as we know it, like from a DNA level, but there was, but they were like cows, you know, like they just didn't have the same big brains that we have.
Yeah.
They were just less developed, you know, more cow, chicken, whatever.
Yeah.
Would you eat it? And I've had that question for a while because I've been an adventurous eater for a while. Like once I finally broke out of the I don't know, childlike, like just the sort of stuff you're brought up on, right? Like the first time I was able to like start exploring food on my own dollar, I was like, oh my God. I've never had sushi before. This is fucking insane. I was like afraid of raw fish. And then I had my own money.
Oh, I know.
And then all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, fucking sushi is the best thing that I've ever tasted ever.
And I don't know if you had the same thing, but like from your parents.
Yeah.
Like I didn't eat a whole bunch of stuff because I was told I wasn't going to like it.
Yeah. Yes.
And then you get older and you're like, how the fuck you know me, bro?
Right.
Because I remember that too. Like we would, and like my parents were just like, that's spicy. You're not going to like that because it's hot, because it's spicy. And I'm like, oh yeah, I don't like spicy. And I remember even going to like Chinese restaurants and being like, Chinese food is the shit. Because that was another thing. Like my dad never wanted to go to Chinese food.
Oh yeah.
So we never went to Chinese food. Right. And then I got old enough to be able to go to a restaurant on my own. And I was just like, Chinese food is pretty awesome, dude. This is crazy. Dude. And I remember they had the hot sauce at all the different stuff. And I was like, I'm not interested in this. I didn't eat it because I was always told I didn't like it. And literally, I never tried the normal sriracha at the Chinese restaurant until I had some on my own. Like until it started blowing up and people were talking about it. And I'm like, is that good?
Right. And
I had already started like using a little bit of hot sauce, and I'm like, I think like when I have tacos, or like when you go to Taco Bell, I'm like, I've put the hot sauce on the Taco Bell. That's pretty good. And then you have that, and you're like, holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
What the fuck is Taco Bell doing? What is that sauce? That is not this. This is crazy because that's. And then you realize that like there's just hot sauces that are different, that work different with different stuff. Like the sriracha is good. It would go good on a taco too, but it's not necessarily like what complements it, right? That kind of like vinegar based hot sauce that they use for tacos and stuff is the shit. And then that other stuff, but that is getting a little bit off topic here. But the point is that they're randomly. I had these notions, like preconceived notions of what I liked based off of what I was told.
Yeah. Yep.
And it wasn't me at all. And then once I started doing that stuff, I think it's been kind of a story of my life in a lot of different senses.
Yeah.
You know, because I grew up with my parents being, not my parents, my mom being relatively religious, and then my dad just kind of being like also like what she says. We're doing what she says. And then it's just kind of that kind of stuff where there's so many rules in the church where like we don't do that. And then you get older and you're like, it's pretty cool. Like what they're telling you not to do is pretty awesome. I don't know why they're saying don't do that, because that's pretty deep.
Because I mean it's awesome.
So like everything like that, where it started getting to a point of just like, you don't like this, you shouldn't do that. That you started just being like, he opens your eyes and you go, what else are you then telling me not to do that I should be doing? And I just started doing everything, dude. Like I'm such an adventurous eater. Like I'm down for literally anything as long as it's not like the idea of it doesn't gross me out.
Yeah.
Like those developed chickens that are technically just the fetus.
Yeah.
That I don't
fetus.
think
yeah,
I could
we've
do.
talked about that.
That one creeps
I'll
me
eat
the fuck
chicken
out,
fetus.
dude. I might try it, but it's like, oh, dude, because you don't know what's in it, dude. All this, I don't.
The worry for me is the bone. Like I want to try it.
Yeah,
but the texture could throw me off because I don't eat canned fish anyway, except for tuna. But
oh yeah,
the canned salmon has bones in it.
Oh, I never had canned salmon. I get the pouches. That doesn't have bones in it.
Okay, well, the canned salmon that I've had had bones in it, and it was like, yeah,
I
that's just
believe
part
you.
of it. I looked it up even, and
it's like sardines are hard for me to eat too. Like when it's a whole fish, like when it's just a whole intact thing, that kind of creeps me out for whatever reason. Like you cut the meat off the bone, I'm fine with anything. I'll literally eat anything.
Yeah,
but when it's the whole intact thing, that kind of creeps me out. I don't know what it's just like.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
The head and the eyes and the whole thing is just like, it's hard for me.
Funny, because that's like what I want to do that soon. Like I want to get a walleye and just be like, I'm cooking it whole.
Oh, really?
Yeah, totally.
See, because you can. That's okay too, because then you're like picking at it with a fork. You're just kind of eating the pieces.
Yeah, that's
like
totally what you do.
And it's like when it's small enough that you're just supposed to like eat the whole thing. Like, just bite the whole head off. Like, dude, for real. Like, or even like the back of it, just all of it.
The sardines. So I've been getting sardines lately. The ones I'm getting, I don't remember them having the head on it anymore. Like I feel like that's the one thing they've removed.
Yeah, the head.
I know that some don't.
It's just the whole body. Yeah.
I know that some don't. Like you can get a sardine, that's all. But I think the heads are off the ones I've been getting. Because
I've never had quality ones either. I should try to do that. I've literally, it's always been for whatever reason. Like when I get sardines, it's like been from the dollar store.
Oh no, don't see that.
I know. It's like, I should probably not do dollar store. Like
the Vienna sausage and fish.
Yeah. That's a little bit too adventurous, you know? I've definitely turned a corner where everybody's like, don't do that because you don't like it. Now I'm out here eating dollar stores sardines.
Right.
I should maybe get like higher quality stuff before I have this notion of like, it's not the greatest thing in the world.
But on a similar note with the like try it, but if it grosses you out, like if just the idea of it grosses me out, I have some of that too. Like I'm with you, but like one of them one thing I'm thinking of like right off the top of my head that I just can't do, but I like this is the squid or octopus.
Oh,
tentacles while they're still moving.
Oh,
because if they have so much memory in them, that you can cut off tentacles and they'll keep moving and sticking, and they're like that fresh.
Yeah,
but they're not. It's not a full squid, of course.
Like the frogs too. Have you seen the frogs when they try to put them in the oil?
No,
like feet first, and the frog feet actually like pull up. When it hits the hot oil, they pull up. I got
the shivs thinking about that, dude. No,
yeah, the feet still pull up. They're still like I've seen one where they like put audio over it. And there was a guy just going,
yeah, those videos are funny.
Ooh. Yeah, that kind of shit. But yeah, for me, it's a big texture deal. So when you're talking a whole animal, like, because there's so many different textures, it creeps me out. I'm not a big fan of grapes because of it.
Oh,
I don't like
I've heard
the grape. I don't like
from
how
more
the
than one
outside there's like a peel and then it like pops when you bite it.
Yeah.
That's what I'm scared of. But like a grape is like you're just biting into like a dry fruit. What if I get that pop and it's fucking baby chicken, dude? No, gross. That's I don't like the thought of that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, back to the topic of meat.
I was gonna say, so
the human meat,
perfect transition,
dude. I'm fucked up now. I've never heard it put the way you were talking about. Like, would you eat meat from a human that was slaughtered from a human? And even if it was like a different, like it wasn't a person, that one I would need to have some more thought. And I'd really need to see them. Like if they were completely like brain dead, like it just had a super tiny brain. It had no chance of ever being anything but what it was. I don't know if we'd be able to do that anyways. Because honestly, you hear about like, now I'm getting weird with it. Like you hear about people fucking sheep.
No, but yeah,
that would happen if your livestock looked exactly like your wife.
No, yeah. In my scenario, you're right. In my scenario, it was literally. So I've definitely asked you guys this, you and your wife and stuff. Like we've been sitting around drinking because this was like sort of one of my drinking topics. So I'm sure I've asked you before, but you don't remember, and I don't remember your answer either. But
yeah,
I'm talking about a scenario where like an alien race comes down and we connect with them because we're on similar intelligence levels. Obviously, they're way more advanced because they can fly here and everything.
Right.
And then they have these humans,
right,
that are food to them. So
yeah.
They would be they wouldn't look human either, right? Like they would be a completely weird. I mean, for fucking the sake of the story, they could be cows with intelligence. And they would see, oh, fuck, you fucking eat us, you fucking weirdos. And then we would see, you fuckers are eating us. And then we'd kind of be like, wait, but we're also talking to each other. Okay, hold on a second. Everybody hold the fucking phone.
Yeah, just chill. And then the alien race that was smart enough to fly here, they're just like, we knew this was going to be a problem. Just want to show you real quick, just watch this. And then they like walk over to one that's like sleeping, standing up, and they push him over. And then you're like, oh, so they are just like,
I get it now.
I get it. Yeah.
Nice. But yeah, so I understand, like, yeah. I mean, it's super weird. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, from that standpoint, I still don't know what to think about it. Like,
yeah,
it feels weird to say I would, but like if it was, like, without a doubt, like these are just like any of the other animal that you harvest for meat, and potentially even like dumber than a pig. Like we can train a pig, like we can train a dog.
Yeah, pigs are actually really smart.
Can't do anything. Yeah. So it's like, I guess, like if it just looks like us, but it's a different species. I mean, if it like never showed any emotion either, like I think that would be the biggest thing, because we can recognize the emotion,
dude. Like
I know they do. It's hard. Like their eyes get big and stuff when they're nervous. And, oh shit, dude! Like I don't want to see. Don't look at me.
Yeah,
that's why it's just got to be fast when you take them out. Like they don't live the greatest lives. They're not the greatest thing in the world.
Yeah, and they really don't do anything but eat and shit. So I mean,
that's why you can just walk up to them with the whole "No Country for Old Men" thing, and they're just like, "What's that?" Done.
Right.
But yeah, if they were like honestly like that and just like dead in the eyes, just chewing stuff all day, doing nothing, I think I could handle it still, but it'd still have to be one of those things where it just like became the normal. I don't think I'd be the guy out on the front lines just
The
being
first
like,
one.
shut up and eat it, dude. God, it's just a person. But as far as like the video that I sent you,
Yeah.
when it is like grown in a lab because it's just human cells that they have made it into a thing.
Yeah.
I have no qualms about that whatsoever.
Yeah,
I don't,
man.
dude, I'm so fine with it. I don't know what it is. I'm just down for it. Does not matter to me. It's just human cells that have been grown into like a giant steak. They showed that they put it on there almost like skin grafting, and then they put them all close together in like this nutrient rich solution.
Yeah.
And that eventually the meat will like grow between the paddles, and then you just have almost essentially like what is a meatloaf, but it's grown into like one singular muscle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would eat that all day.
I would fucking eat that. No problem, dude. I'd grill up a human steak for sure.
Yeah. And if anybody's out there wondering, like, why, what are we talking about? Why humans? Why do it with something else? Well, the reason that they're talking about doing it with humans is because that's what we have the most knowledge of.
Hold on.
Human flesh.
Time out.
Okay. All right.
All that shit was fake and made up.
That was fake?
Completely fake.
Oh, I'm down. Make it.
I'm still
cool with it.
I know.
I'm
Me
so
too.
down.
But I just want to. So I did some research on that thing.
Yeah.
And it's a BBC. It was BBC. Like that dude is also like a top chef judge or something like that in the UK.
Okay.
So he's really actually a food representative. Well, I'll just put it simply like that.
They faked it well, dude.
It was on BBC. Yep. It was well produced and well put together. It's a mockumentary. And the team behind it is basically like, this is exactly why we made it. Because the fact that's where we are right now in the way that like media is exchanged and the like the conversations or like the state of things is like, people will take this seriously, but you shouldn't, because why would we use human meat? Like, we've been eating other kinds of animals for so long. Why would we use humans?
They said it in the video. It made perfect sense to me.
It did. It did. That example of like, oh, well, we've been doing research on humans for so long. And then, but we actually don't know what it's like for humans to eat other humans. Do you know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah. I mean,
but why would it be a problem? Like
when it's just muscle, I mean, we don't have any issues. There's nothing, as long as there's not any like disease or anything else.
Which the lab grown part completely cuts out the possibility.
Right.
Because they get healthy cells. They get healthy cells from the beginning and then they grow.
Yeah.
Which,
so
to be clear, is real. Lab grown meat is real. And we'll get into that more. Keep going, Tim.
Right.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. I was just going to say, like, it makes sense to me that, I forgot what the fuck I was talking about. What was I talking about?
The humans that like we've done, like we have so much medical history on the human being.
Oh,
that was the example that they used in the video.
Yes. And it would make sense to me that we would use that because that's what we know about and stuff. But when it comes down to like, I was talking about like the different meats of like, you don't want to be eating, there's certain animals that have known to have like this disease or that disease, and some of those they're like, don't eat that shit because some of that could get you messed up. But I've never heard of anybody eating that, like there, or like anybody having a real problem with eating a different animal as long as it doesn't have like a disease. It's always just the meat is fine. I would assume that there's nothing like with the DNA that it's going to be able to do anything like you're digesting it.
Right.
I'm also a true crime fan, and I've heard
people
some
be
stories.
eating people all the time.
I've heard some stories.
Right.
And those guys don't seem to be having any issues with them. They were already broken to begin with. So I don't know. Maybe there's something wrong after they ate, but clearly they're not all there because they're
and short of
not,
like a puffer fish, like the meat, again, it's not the meat that's contaminated with the thing that you're not supposed to eat. It's something has now infected the living thing or the meat or what, like salmonella. That got there from the shit of the chicken most of the time, right?
Right.
In the slaughtering process, even for the most part, like E. coli, right?
Right.
That got there from the slaughtering process of it.
Right.
Pigs, bears. I'll use bears because bears is very common, right? Like bear, omnivore, kind of like one of those things where it's like, yeah, do people eat bears? You fucking right, people eat bears.
Yep.
But you always get it tested or you cook the fuck out of it because bears, very, very commonly, a wild bear has trichinosis in it, which is a parasite.
Right. Yeah, and that's one of those where I've heard that the meat's kind of tough too. So you got to cook it like you would cook like where you're cooking ribs or whatever, like low and slow, heat it up till the is like hot enough to like where the fibers in the meat break down.
Yeah.
Which when you heat it up to where the fibers break down is so far beyond where anything lives.
Right.
Like for beef and all that stuff, chicken is the one that you want to be the most safe with. And I think that's like 165 or like 107. I want to say 165.
165.
Yeah.
Yep.
And when you're cooking the meat to like where you're breaking down the fibers, you're trying to get that meat up into like the 200 range. Because that's where the fibers break down and that's where it becomes like melt in your mouth. That's where like all the fibers start falling apart and not holding on to
that's
each
when
other
it becomes
anymore.
shredded or pull off the bone ribs.
Exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So to go back to lab grown stuff quick is, what we're saying is all that stuff is cut out of the lab grown because you start from a clean culture.
Right.
Lab grown meat is pretty new, but it is FDA approved in the United States now. It happened in 2022.
Okay.
There are 2 companies producing lab grown meat.
I don't have any. It does not bother me. I don't know why. Lab grown any kind of meat. I don't care. Do it. And especially if it's human. That's more of like, I want to try it. It's more of an exciting, like, we have an ethical way to see what we taste like.
Right.
I'm not even out there being like, I want to see what another person tastes like.
No.
It's like, I want to know what my meat tastes like.
Yeah. Yeah.
That might be bringing, if you can get ethically sourced human meat, then you would, most likely want to keep eating that, but it might bring in a whole new wave of crazies.
It could.
They're just like,
you do have to actually like
sure
seriously ask that question.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. Yeah. Like, have you ever seen that It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia episode where they're eating what they assume Charlie and what's Danny DeVito's character's name? Frank. Yeah. Where Charlie and Frank eat what they think is human meat.
Yeah.
Or no, it's D. It's D and Charlie.
Is it D?
It's Frank who's fucking with them. Because
I don't remember it, but I know I've seen it.
Yeah, and they basically turned into like crack addicts, and they like go to a crack addict to try to like, who's like, for $50 you can cut off a slab of my leg or whatever, right? And they're like, you do it, and Frank has just been feeding them raccoon meat, and they're like, well, how come we're all like itchy and like craving and stuff? He's like, you probably got worms. You've been undercooking raccoon. But the whole episode is them like fiending because like, oh, we've had the taste of human meat, we can't go back now. Are we gonna get more?
Gotta get it.
Yeah,
I could totally see that becoming a problem where they're just like, some people that don't have morals are sitting there looking at the price of the meat that's out there, especially when it first comes out, because I'm sure the lab grown stuff isn't going to be cheaper than the regular stuff. So you're looking at that and you're like,
not right away.
It's
for
like $20 for a steak.
Right.
Or
bullets cost $1.
there's like 65 pounds of meat on that homeless guy under that bridge.
Right.
Nobody even knows he's there.
Right.
You know, that kind of shit, where I think
Right.
that might become, but also people are just like, that pristine lab grown meat isn't that fucking bridge bum meat, you know? We're not going to be dealing with the same cuts over here.
Right.
But I'm just saying that it might
no, it's
cause
something you would
different problems
definitely
like that,
have
but
to ask in all this. I'm with
Right.
you, man.
mine, I'm just like, if you're talking about like where it was never a person at all and it was grown from a lab, I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
You know, like if they make some meat, speaking of bringing it full circle about the dinosaurs, if you could literally get some cells and produce some dinosaur meat for me, I would eat whatever dinosaur you got your hands on.
Yeah.
I would try any of it. That would
like
be
woolly mammoth
so cool.
is the closest. Like we're so far out of all the things that I've heard is that that woolly mammoths are like, we kind of have a piece of their DNA. Now we can't like fucking make a woolly mammoth out of it, but it does make you think like, how much DNA do you need to fucking make?
I've actually heard not too long ago that the woolly mammoth is going to be back.
Yeah.
That they're splicing the DNA of the woolly mammoth because they got some of it with the DNA of like an African elephant or whatever, and they're going to make like a new thing.
Like they're going to bring back a new woolly mammoth. Yeah, it'll be a woolly mammoth, but it'll be a
That's
new.
what I heard. Yeah, we'll have to see how good it goes. That's one thing that like I don't think many people are going to be up in arms about. Like, how dare you bring back a really cool ass elephant? Like, nobody's mad about that one, you know?
Right.
But yeah, dude. I got to tell you too, though, the ethically sourced meat. Like, if you're talking bringing that up, it's great. But I brought it up, like I was telling my wife what we were going to be talking about on the pod.
Oh yeah,
at dinner, and it doesn't bother me one fucking bit.
Yeah,
and she's like, we had mac and cheese and hot dogs because I got a 5-year-old. Tonight we had mac and cheese and hot dogs.
So dinner.
She's got a hot dog, and she's like looking at the hot dog, and she's like, "Did you really have to bring it up now?
Whoa!
I don't even want to eat this anymore." And I'm like,
"Whoa,
for real?" And she's like, "It's gross." And I'm like, "That's a hot dog."
Now it might have some human fingers in it, or some shit from the manufacturer, but like,
yeah. But she was like,
wow.
It like legitimately grossed her out to even talk about it. And I'm over here thinking about like, sorry, I didn't even think about it because it doesn't even fucking faze me.
No, me neither. And I brought up to my wife because I told her to, and I brought up my story about how I've had this story, like my, stories that I've brought up for years, kind of like one of my drinking stories is, or my drinking conversation things is. And so I told her that, and she goes, "It's getting too complicated. Either way, no." I'm like, "Yeah." She's just like, "No." The answer is no. Now I go, "Well, what do you think my answer is?" And she goes, "Yeah, you would." And I'm like, "Yeah, I would."
Yeah, obviously.
And that was the story about the aliens and stuff like that. And then I told her about the like lab grown one and stuff like that. And of course, and it just was like, yeah, there you go again. And hopefully, leave comments and shit, but it's a conversation piece for sure.
Yeah.
We're not talking about this being for real, but if it was, I'm okay with it. I'd buy it. I would try it.
Of course.
And because lab grown meat is a real thing. Again, I already said it. They're doing like chicken and beef. I saw,
I thought that clip was real. I was like, hell yeah, dude, pretty soon.
The reason why I thought it was fake is because the amount that they were producing and stuff like that. Like that,
I thought it was crazy too, but because they were British, I was like, dude, shit's going like they're not as sensitive as us over here. Hell yeah.
It's kind of where that, like, if you read the article about what they were doing, like why they did the satire, it was that.
Nice.
It was sort of, they didn't say because we're British we feel, but if you read the article about how this is satire and why they did it and stuff like that, you kind of pick up on, they were like, well, yeah, people just hear British people and they're like, it's cool.
Right. Yeah.
They didn't say it, but like read between the lines. So anyways, back to the lab grown meat. I saw David Chang had a show on Hulu, and I forget the name of it, but I remember David Chang was so he's a chef, and he has this episode about like future foods or stuff like that. And he went to California to eat lab grown salmon. Like that was specifically why he went there, was to talk to these people who are growing meat and try the salmon. And he's like, it's fucking delicious. He was just like, it's really good. He didn't know how to feel. Like he kind of had this, like, I don't know, it's lab grown, like why, and all this stuff. And they're basically going through the scenario of like, yeah, that's what it is now, but like all technology, you know, it's only going to get better.
Right.
But here it is. Like, here's lab grown salmon. We're going to have some. And they ate it sashimi style. Like they just cut off the block and ate it. And he said it was delicious.
Hell yeah.
Now, I'm not saying lab grown meat, this and that, in perfect world. I'm not trying to say anything that they're making a better meat, you know, because we talked about how, oh, well, it doesn't have parasites and all that. Because there's a lot to eating something that has been eating locally. I'm talking about wild animals, of course, because for the most part, if it's a farm, it's getting fed the same thing. But there's something to wild animals eating locally that gives them flavor. Like it will flavor the meat differently. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. Now bacon's going to fucking taste like bacon because it's been cured and soaked and, you know, smoked. And it's just, there's so much to bacon that just makes bacon for the most part. I don't think you're really going to fuck with that. But yeah, I would bet you that pulled pork from a wild hog in Central Texas is going to taste different than pulled pork from a wild hog out of,
for sure,
you know, Wisconsin or wherever the fuck they are.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I've heard people talk about that, like in different circumstances. I don't have any specific circumstance,
me neither,
like that,
exactly,
that I can remember, but I do remember where they're like, this breed of cow is great because of where they live and what they eat.
Yeah.
But they do talk about like the feed and stuff, how some of that different, like, I don't know if it affects the flavor, but I do know that they want you to eat like the grass-fed beef because that has like, it doesn't have the carcinogens in it. And I would assume from like the carcinogens can come from like whatever feed. Like it's not necessarily like a guarantee that you're getting carcinogens in your regular beef, but there's a chance that because they're using like GMO random stuff that they're feeding these cows, that there could be carcinogens in their feed. And when you're eating like naturally grass-fed beef, you're not dealing with some of that stuff. And I would assume that whatever gives you cancer probably doesn't taste as good as what doesn't give you cancer.
I like that conclusion. Pretty. Yep.
So, funny. You know, it's that kind of stuff where it's, you know, we only feed them this and it's good stuff because of the food source that they have. I would assume that, you know, like, I know that we eat a lot of the herbivores, so those are good.
Yep.
But I've heard that like carnivores are relatively like tasty too.
Sure.
And I think some of that comes from, you know, they're only eating meat.
Sure. Yeah.
For the most part. You know?
Yeah.
And you kind of get all that stuff, but I don't know for sure. But I would assume that there's a couple of different places. I would think that most of the time it doesn't make a difference. But every once in a while you hear that one story where it's just like, why does this steak cost $500? Because that guy lives on the hillside
Yeah.
And that hillside only grows this one kind of green.
Yep.
And when he eats that green does this to his meat.
Yep.
Like,
yep.
He's just so tender, whatever.
Right. Yeah. And no, all that, we say all that to be like, okay, lab grown meat. Yeah. It's probably going to just all taste the same all the time. They get a culture and just keep growing it.
Yeah.
But I mean, if it's going to, you know, if they start doing it with humans and like it's a real option or something, it's like, think about this hypothetical scenario and would you do it? And we're both like, yeah,
dude.
I mean,
think of of course. And think about it like this. If you're able to lab grow meat where you're able to put, I don't care what cut you're talking, like what animal you end up talking about putting it together.
Yeah.
But if you're able to lab grow the meat where it's not the same muscle structure as everything else, where there's the cords and everything else, and you got to cut it around this, and you're literally able to like set the fibers up like whatever it is that you're trying to make. Like you can just have a loaf of ribeye, you could just have a loaf of filet.
Yeah.
And it's not, that would be simply amazing to me, where you could just be like, I'm just buying this chunk and we'll cut it into multiple pieces. You know, it's a $50 loaf of filet. That I can cut into like 20 different pieces. We can shape it like steaks if we're still feeling weird about it. But I'd be cool of like just cutting it into rectangles and eating it as is.
Yeah.
It would be so awesome.
I mean, think about
to be able to get that cut of, and it would make it so much more affordable on that stance, because getting meat as a whole is not that big of a deal, but some of that stuff like the filet is the beef tenderloin. And there's only, I think there's only 2 of those, and they're just like tubes on a cow.
Yeah.
That's why it's so expensive. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's the back strap, and it's
one on each side of the spine from my memory.
I think that's what it is. Yeah, too. I'm pretty sure you're right. So that's what you're dealing with is the back strap. You get 2 of those per cow.
Right.
If you could produce that on a regular basis,
right,
that would be so amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And say, I was actually, that's what I was going to say. Like, think about it. If you were just like, when you were saying the tube, I was like, yeah, what if you just had like human backstrap in there, you know? Like, that's 100%. What I was literally going to use the backstrap as the, like, example. And it's just like,
beef tenderloin is the filet mignon. Pork tenderloin is just called that. It doesn't have another name, but pork tenderloin is great.
Yep.
I'll buy a full pork tenderloin and cut it down, because that's basically just what a boneless chop is.
Yep.
And then human tenderloin is whatever you want to call it. Awesome, probably. I'm guessing.
Yeah, dude. Oh shit, that's funny. All right, man. Let's wrap it up. I think that was fun. Definitely a talker. Like, yeah, I knew I knew it wasn't just going to be like, yeah, dude, I'd try it. There's so much to that topic.
Yeah, dude.
In general. So I knew it wasn't just going to be that, but you know, we could probably we could definitely keep going on. Not probably. We definitely could keep going on, but let's not. We're already hitting like 40 minutes on this. The podcast is getting long, right? Because we had that new deals section in the front. If you're just finding this on Friday, in the random take, and you're hearing this full podcast, we're entertaining the idea of having another segment in the beginning of the podcast. So if you're just in here for the random take, cool. Thanks for coming. Hope it's a conversation piece. Join us. Like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. realaf.tv/contact actually to, start the communication. It's more fun if it's public, because this sort of conversation, I mean, unless you're just going to email us and be like, you fucking weirdos. Like, yeah, that's okay. We're aware that is a thought. We just told that about our wives.
Yeah, our wives are not on the same page as us.
Right.
Yeah, let us know. Is this a dude versus ladies thing? Are the ladies just like, no, we're not eating people, and all the guys are like, it's meat, right?
Let us know. So anyways, that's it. Like, subscribe, did all that. Fucking Patreon. I always forget that one. I say it in the beginning, say it in the middle, but patreon.com/realaftv. What else, Tim? Anything?
No, you can leave a review on Spotify.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah, that kind of stuff.
That's
yeah,
right.
all
It
that
helps
good
us.
jazz. And you got to go to just Spotify and all that other stuff. Google Podcast is gone.
Oh, that's
So,
right. Did you
that
get
was on the
official, did you get the official, this app is dead now?
It says, yeah, like the app is dead, and then it says like transfer over your subscriptions, and I haven't clicked on that yet to try to figure out what it's talking about.
Okay.
Because every time I try to pull up the podcasts, I'm doing something, so I'm like,
Yeah.
time. I don't
Right.
have
You're
time
in the
now,
middle of
'cause
something. Yeah.
It just happened. It just shut down on the 4th.
Oh,
And
okay.
as we're recording this, it's the 5th, I think. Yeah. So
Yeah. So
it just shut down
happened.
yesterday.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
crazy though. Good to hear the firsthand experience. But just so anybody knows, if you're on YouTube right now listening, the full podcast is over on the podcast YouTube feed.
yeah.
Our podcast, the full version, is already on the YouTube podcast. We made that transition from Google Podcast over to YouTube Music or whatever the fuck it is now a while ago. So it's all good.
Yep.
If you're thinking of going that route.
Yep. And if you are subscribed on Google, it does have a tab that you can click on that says like transfer subscriptions. I don't know how that works yet, but
yeah,
you can still go there and click on that and see what that says.
Oh, sick. That'd be dope if the YouTube
yeah.
channel got a little boost from it. That'd be cool. Those help. Those numbers help, guys.
For sure.
All right.
Yeah, I would assume they're trying to send you over to YouTube and not like all the other places.
Yeah, it will. I bet you it will.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tries to send you to another dead system. You click on it and it's just like, Google Podcasts is not a thing anymore. Go try to find your podcast on Stitcher.
Stitcher's dead too. What are you doing? What are you doing here?